I'm your host, Alien Spores. This is my first video. Technically, I have another video posted, but it's not really like an introduction or whatever. And I wanted to make this video specifically to have a chat, a talk, or whatever. I've had a lot of life changes and for the better, actually, for the better. Even though this video is gonna be very basically depressing to me, or whatever, depressing to whoever is listening to. You can take it as education or as however you want to, basically. But this is like my normal for me and how I interact with people. All right, so I'm sorry about that. So I have so many plans for this channel. I want to do vlogging for you guys. I'm gonna be going to like bars and stuff. I'm always going to concert shows. I don't know, out stuff like that. I'm always working. I'm always doing something, and I just think that I'm better with context, I guess. And so I wanted to let you guys know, like, basically, like my home situation, how my brain kind of works, kind of what I've been through, so that you kind of know like why I'll end up being like, I'm hoping that it doesn't come through. I'm hoping that with the schedule that I'm able to set up recently and everything, that I'll be able to be very consistent with you guys, get very good sleep, and all this other stuff. But you know, I struggle every day because I have borderline personality disorder. I also have like PTSD, and so it's really hard. It's really hard to be consistent. It took a lot of time and courage to like I've been wanting to make a YouTube video and I've been wanting to make a YouTube channel, but because of my mental health and like where I'm at, it's very hard to do, because I get very stuck in my head. You know what I mean? I have a lot of confidence for myself, obviously, how I physically look, but when it comes to like doing things where I have to interact with people or people have to interact with me, I very much fail because I really don't like people. I don't like interaction. But I'm trying my hardest. I'm trying to get out of that because, you know, life is too short. I'm only 26, and there's so many things that have happened. I've had a couple near-death experiences, and that's kind of why I am doing this, because I just want to go out and kind of have fun, and I'm kind of sick of feeling how I feel inside. I made this video a couple of times. I'm not sure how to say that. The first time that I made this video, I had family around, and the second time, or this third time now, it's just taking a while because I'm not really sure the right things to say, or to not over explain, but then at the same time I kind of, because of what I went through, I kind of over explain all the time. So we're gonna try our hardest to make this as short and sweet as possible. Like I said, the point of this video is kind of to like give you some lore so that you can understand like why I interact with people the way I do, kind of understand the schedule that I'm going for, because at the end of the day, the point of this video for me, right, is so that I don't have to keep reopening these like kind of traumatic things that happen in my life. When I'm going through these videos and people are like, because I get asked all the time, like, why do you do this, or why do you act like that, or like da da da, you know what I mean? And I don't want to like sit around and be like, oh well, make a video every couple of videos, you know, and be like, well, this is why, when I could just make one whole introductory and kind of be like, this is my reference video for the other stuff, and if you ever are curious on why I'm kind of built this way, like you can just come back here and listen to it. It can be this whole video. It might be a little sad, I don't really care, but it's also like for educational purposes, you know what I mean? So I guess, yeah, let's get started. Okay, well, I'm doing my best here. So let's start, I guess, from where I guess I can think of the beginning. I'm not 100% sure if I was born neurodivergent or if it just ended up developing. Because I honestly, whenever I was born, I pushed myself out. Honestly, the way that my parents describe it sounds almost supernatural because I pushed myself out. I didn't cry. I looked at my dad. I smiled at my dad. It was like a whole ordeal. I literally flew out of my mom like a football, and my dad caught me. Or whatever. I learned that as a child, as a literal baby, I was dropped pretty hard a couple of times. And so, I mean, I could have had brain damage from that. And that's basically why I ended up like this. But, you know, definitely when I was growing up, I knew something was off. And I didn't know 100%, but I think other people, because like maybe other people are a little bit more neurotypical than me or whatever, that they can sense it or whatever. So as I grew up, like even around like the time like I'm 6 or 7 years old, I would notice like, you know, I had certain friends who would invite me over, but like they would invite me over only to their house, but like I would find out from other people that they were inviting people over to their house and like to go out and stuff like that. And like the older that I get, I start realizing like the stuff that I was noticing as a child is probably something that most children don't notice until like, oh, they learn these lessons older, because that's when it starts clicking to them, you know? But like my brain was making so many connections as a child that it was honestly insane. But yeah, during those times too, I was kind of going through it. I want to start off by saying I lived in a normal household for the most part. I knew my mom, obviously. I knew my dad. My dad was there. So I had both of my parents in the house until I was 16. But I just wanted to kind of set that up because I know most people, they look at me and they're like, you must have went through like the most dysfunctional, like parents didn't give a fuck, dad wasn't there, probably like siblings and like all this other stuff wreaking havoc. And no, it's not like that. It was pretty calm. I grew up in a Christian household where it's actually really funny because a lot of my aunts and uncles, like my great aunt, so my grandma's mom or whatever, and my aunt, and this is all on my mom's side. On my dad's side, they're actually Muslim. So, but on my mom, but you know, I grew up with my mom and basically with her side for the most part. So I kind of know more history about them. And so, like, basically came from a line of just different preachers and pastors and all this other stuff. It was crazy. And I grew up with like obviously those ideologies and stuff. And you know, by the time that it's very hard to talk about, I told my mom about it or whatever, but by the time that I was like 7, yeah, sorry about that. There was people in here, and then on top of that, my phone ended up getting like, you know, gotta free up storage space or whatever. But I'm gonna resume to what I was saying before, because honestly, I don't feel like restarting all over again. You know, the quality is looking nice and everything, and there's no one in here right now, so I might as well talk about this while I can. But yeah, I'm gonna just basically brush past this. But by the time I was like 7 or 8, you know, I was being essayed by another child, you know, and it really does have an effect on you. And yeah, so that was me as a kid, and it really affected me. The people that, you know, I didn't feel like I could go to people at all about it because the family members that I did have around, like, unfortunately, the thing that I was going through was racially motivated. At the time, the person would say a lot of racist stuff towards me, but at the time my parents were also, you know, doing their due diligence of, you know, showing me this racist stuff of like slavery and like, you know, teaching me about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, all that civil rights stuff or whatever. We're watching Dreamgirls. So that's basically what I learned as a child. And then on top of that, like I said, my family were Christian, so, you know, I was taught that, like, you know, unfortunately this person was the same sex as me when they were taking advantage of me. And because of, you know, basically the two ideologies that I was just telling you about that I learned as a kid, basically the abuse that I ended up going through, I didn't seek help from my parents because I felt like that they were gonna come after me. I never really had. I have, siblings and stuff, but I never really had real protection. I'm the baby, but or the siblings that I lived with, they were treated a little bit differently than I was. I feel like I was given more harsh, even though they feel like I wasn't treated as harshly as they were. But at the end of the day, what I remember as a child is that I would get beatings, and I just had to sit and loneliness, whereas my siblings would get beatings, whoopings, whatever, and then maybe 30 minutes to an hour later, one of the parents were going in there to talk to them about hey, why, and da-da-da. And I learned through my parents that they did that because they believe that we have two different personalities, and because of the two different personalities that it needs to be treated differently. But I just completely think it was wrong. I think a lot of the things that they could have helped me with as a child, one second. A lot of things that they could have helped me with as a child, they really missed the mark with having this closed-minded thinking of oh, we're predicting your personality and blah blah blah, so therefore we're just going to go with that personality instead of hey, let's teach you this, let's teach you that, you know what I mean? Because my family believes that they taught me how to make friends and what to look for and all this other stuff, and it's you telling me not to be around certain people, not to talk to boys and all that other stuff does not set me up to know oh, this person really isn't my friend, or I need to look out for this, or this is the quality of friend that I need to go for, you know what I mean? And then same thing with dating, you know what I mean? Like I said, you telling me not to do hang out with boys, and I'm not really allowed to talk and blah 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 blah. All it did is really hinder me from being able to actually sit down and set boundaries with people. And if we're being honest, it's more than likely I'm not going to be able to sit down and be I guess in a normal way, and especially because of also the psychology that my psychological damage, you know what I mean, from just the trauma of even being exposed to sexual content just that very young, you know what I mean? So the fact that I wasn't taught, I didn't really tell anyone what I was going through, and then all this other stuff, it really hinders how I talk to people. And I want to make this video because like I said, I have BPD, and I had to learn and I had to teach myself how to talk to people. And I thought about this a lot recently, because so when you think of BPD, right? BPD is first of all, it's usually, and not always, some people are born with it, right? Because their parents had it and blah, 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 it's passed down. So it could be hereditary, but most people, it's developed, and more than likely it's going to be developed in childhood, right? Stuff, whatever I'm saying. But moving on from that, right? Some of the symptoms is we feel things very intensely. We have a lot of black and white thinking. It's just really hard, and it's really a lot, right? And so because of these intense emotions, I think because I have a lot of people pleasing tendencies, I tend to I can't even identify what my problem is inside because of how fucked up my brain is, basically. But all I know is I'm just going through things all the time, and it just hurts, it really does hinder how I interact with people. And at this point, I really don't like interacting with people because at this point I'm super different, and I like me, I like being who I am. I believe that people gave me, because of how shitty they treated me, unfortunately, that they gave me the space to okay, I can indulge in my thoughts, I guess, and hear what I'm thinking in my head. And so if this is what I want, if that's what my brain is saying, this is what's going to make me happy, then that's what I'm going for. And I was able to hear my thoughts loud and clear because, like I said, I was given that space to, right? But kind of dialing back to where I was going with kind of the symptoms and whatever, and how this all kind of plays together is the intensity. I feel like I said, a lot of the things that I feel are very intense, I end up making it small. So whenever I actually approach people about hey, this is my problem, I don't think that they're understanding hey, this is my actual fucking problem, and this is actually bothering me really bad inside. I think it's coming off of more hey, this, that, and other. And because what I'm realizing is I'll be this is my problem, I feel you're not being consistent, for example, right? And people will be okay, and then continue not being consistent. And then it's okay, well, I have to keep saying this and da-da-da, and telling you ways that you're not being consistent. And I think people are not understanding in their brain, it's so small. But to me, because I have this disorder and I'm feeling it so intensely, it's I feel like you're ignoring me and you're not respecting me and all this other stuff really bad, you know what I mean? And I try to give people a lot of times the benefit of the doubt. If you know me, none of you really do, but if you did know me, a lot of times I'm like, okay, let me give this person the benefit of the doubt. Let me give them the excuse. Maybe they didn't understand this. Maybe, you know, I'm not explaining it correctly, or maybe I'm not explaining it in the way, because because, you know what I mean? Like I'm saying, I don't really have that much or best of communication skills. And because of that, you know, maybe I'm not saying what I'm meaning to say in the way that they, you know. But I feel like eventually I over-explain myself, and I'm saying it in so many different ways and paraphrasing and blah blah blah, that I feel like you just don't respect me, you don't like me, blah 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 blah. And a lot of times that ends up turning into, okay, well now I have to yell at you, because no one actually does this stuff or listens to what I'm saying unless I'm being like a physical, like actual bitch. And like I hate it so much. I absolutely hate it so much. Like people don't understand the mental toll that it takes on my fucking brain to actually put me through that. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of like the fact of why I'm very antisocial. I really don't talk to people. I genuinely don't talk to people. If we were able to go through like my messages and stuff like that, or just people that I see like at work and stuff like that, they'll be like, oh yeah, why didn't you like message me or something, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, like, you know, I have genuine anxiety about just talking to people. It's not even just because of like that like little one thing example that I gave you. There's so many examples. So like moving on from just even like I guess the beginning of like the trauma, right? Eventually shortly after that, well, you know what, let me back up a little bit. I will also get bullied in school. Like, the more that I think about it, it's just like normal, like, kid bullying. But I think it also was a lot to me because of, like, you know, the home stuff that I was explaining earlier. And then on top of that, like, I was being molested. And so I spent a lot of my younger years searching for acceptance. But from there, you know what I mean, I moved from New Jersey out to Arizona, and the first couple of years that I was in school here, I was just doing online schooling. And you know, if you see in my shorts, that's kind of around the time that I started catfishing people, because like I moved to a new state. I was homeschooled because my parents didn't like the schools that were here, because they said that they look like prisons. And so I'm isolated already because homeschooling, and then on top of that I already learned that people didn't like me before, so it's like, let me use someone else's face, you know what I mean, to kind of be myself, I guess, and have genuine connections. And so that went on for a while. I can remember like all the interests that I liked when I was younger. It's so funny to me that I didn't end up being a theater kid, because first of all, I really like music. Like I really love music, you guys. But when I was growing up, like everything I listened to was literally musical theater. Like literally musical theater. One of my favorite, I love High School Musical, obviously. I was a Disney Channel girl. So High School Musical, Cheetah Girls, Hannah Montana. I love Jonas Brothers, Camp Rock, all that other good stuff. And then what else was I about to say? Anyway, anyway, I really liked all that good stuff. I really liked Michael Jackson, and outside of the musical theater, I really loved Cats, like the Broadway. That, and also like Beauty and the Beast, like, I don't know, let me shut the fuck up about that. I was really happy. I really loved musical theater. But yeah, I really liked Michael Jackson. I really liked Nicki Minaj growing up. And then I moved out here, I changed my hair because of Nicki Minaj, even though I don't like her anymore. You know, I'm still gonna give her props because, you know, I guess a pro-black type shit, you know, give my community their props whenever I can. But yeah, whenever I moved out here, there wasn't too many black people in general. When I first moved out here, which was like what, 2012. And then what I noticed when I first moved out here, a lot of like, at least the black kids, because I wasn't older, like the black older kids I wasn't able to actually like hang out with because they're way older than me. I had this one girl who, they ended up actually being family, and I went on a podcast about this, a little sidetrack story. I went on a podcast about this, and I know that there's a little clip of me on there like saying some stuff, and it sounds like I'm saying like, oh, I don't date black people, and that's not the case. What I was actually like trying to say, if they like actually talked to me, if you watch the video, you would notice like they weren't trying to ask me questions, they weren't doing da-da-da, this, that, and the other. They literally wanted me there as a Halloween prop, basically. So I'll clarify right now. But basically, like, they said something about, like, you know, mainly the people that approach me are white, right? And it's like, yes and no, because I do have a lot of black people who approach me. But one of my biggest fears for black people, and especially, like, black American people, because like if they're from Africa, I have no fucking problem. I have actually a lot of friends, and I meet a lot of people who are directly from Africa and come out here. But like black Americans, I'm so scared that we're gonna end up being family. Like, you don't know how many times I went to multiple different states, and I've been friends with like multiple people from different states, and we just all end up being like, oh, you know, you're cousins with Uncle Tony? I know him. That's my cousin. That's my blood cousin. They're like, oh yeah, that's my blood cousin. You don't know how many times that's happened. So it's like a whole thing. But anyway, yeah, so I said I don't really know how to date. I don't really know how to talk to people. And I think because of the way that I present myself, which I don't give a fuck. I'm not changing for anyone. Like, I already had enough, a hard enough life. And so to expect me to change, to want to be loved is insane to me. Because I think that I have such a great personality, and that I'm chill enough, and that, like, you know what I mean? That don't have to like take out my piercings and, you know, look more modest and like have like natural colored hair and have natural looking hair in order for someone to be like, okay, you know what, I fuck with you, or oh, I like you. You like, you know what I mean? And it's a whole problem, but we'll get into it. But whenever I was like that young, by the time I got into middle school, and it wasn't even the first year of middle school out here. I know in New Jersey, middle school starts at 6th grade, but in Arizona, it actually starts at 7th. So I graduated 5th grade in New Jersey, thought I was going to middle school, but actually went back to elementary school just because out here is elementary school. It's crazy, it's crazy. The educational system in Arizona and just the West Coast side is insanely terrible, you guys. I am an honor student. I would get A's, B's, like da-da-da-da, all throughout, like from elementary school, all throughout high school, you know what I mean? And the education system is terrible. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, the people out here, it kind of reflects. So anyway, I became friends with this one person in school, and we were bonding over our mutual love for Nicki Minaj. And you know, we were texting and stuff, and it was never inappropriate. It was never like, it would be like, hey, how are you, blah, 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 or what's up, blah, blah, blah. But we never really had like a full conversation in those text messages, because I'm not sure if what this girl did. And the more that I think about it now, since like technology has like because at the time I was a kid, I had no idea what was going on, and my brain talks so loud a lot of times that I didn't know what the fuck, and I couldn't even like 100% process what was happening. So, but basically what happened was that I guess she sent me pictures of herself, and they weren't inappropriate. Like they were like literally just selfies, you know? And but the way that like they would send was individually, where like now as people and as our phones got better, the photos are sending like in clusters and collages and all that other stuff. So it's not like your phone is going to be going off if I send you like 20 pictures. It's all going to be in one cluster and you're fine, right? But I think at the time the pictures that she was sending me just ended up sending in individuals, and I'm not sure if like on her end it was like, oh, this didn't send, so retry. And because I would get like multiples of the same picture throughout the whole entire day, like literally every second of the minute, like for a whole week, every second of every minute my phone was just going off with pictures. And my mom turned to me at one point and she was like, hey, like, because I'm like young, you know what I mean? So she's like, I want to know who's texting you like that, because you're too young to have anyone be blowing up your phone and monitoring you like that, especially if it's not like, you know, me, your parent, right? And so I showed her the pictures, blah, 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 blah. And then sorry, there's a hospital around here, so I can hear like the sirens. You can hear it too. But yeah, so what my mom told me was like, that's weird, you know what I mean? Go to school, tell this person you can't be friends with them or whatever. And I did exactly what my parents told me. And because of that, this person ended up making you know what I mean? Just false lies about me in this school that got me suspended off and on, off and on, off and on. Honestly, you guys might see the light go out because I haven't recharged it and stuff like that. But I kind of just wanted to keep going or whatever. Like I said, this is my first video, so I'm kind of having like technical difficulties. Like my storage keeps running up, and then on top of that, look, the lights went out. And then on top of that, I'm trying to figure out how I can move the videos from here to my laptop, and then so I can piece up everything for you. So, you know, bear with me, but I'm gonna get back to the topic at hand. Basically, after that, I went back to homeschooling, which I also forgot during homeschooling. So the type of homeschooling I was doing wasn't like, oh, my parents did this and that for me and they brought me this and they taught me that. I was doing online schooling, so I was under Connections Academy. And so that meant that you went to physical places sometimes if you wanted to. You can go to field trips pretty often and stuff like that. And for like, you know, finals and testing and stuff, like the major testings, you would have to go to a hotel conference meeting type of thing, and you'll meet other kids there and you'll take like your tests, right? And so I say that because it's relevant, because obviously I met people and I became friends with this one girl, and we were friends for the longest time up until the time that I did go to high school. So this is the time where I was in homeschooling. I went to what's it called? I went to physical school for like maybe a month or two during my 7th grade for like a blimp, right? And then I went back to homeschooling. So this was like literally my only friend that I had whenever I first moved out to Arizona. And like, you know what? They were really pretty person. You know what I mean? Thin, light skin, mixed, you know what I mean? And so they got a lot of attention, more than me, obviously, and especially when I was younger. I was more round, you know? I had like colorful hair and stuff, but my makeup wasn't together like this, and I didn't really have a style together like this. And like I said, we were more round. Sorry, there's planes going by, like military planes. We don't live that far from the military base or whatever, but yeah. And she was very, very fake. You know what I mean? Like would tell me like whenever I would go to her about like, oh, I'm having these like insecurity problems, she'd be like, oh my god, girl, I wish I was like you. Like you're so chocolate. Like Missy Elliott, she's like one of the most beautiful girls. And then she would be like, you're like naturally thick, like Nicki Minaj. I was fat as fuck at the time. I was like almost 300 pounds. But go off, queen. Anyway. And, you know, it started solidifying for me that she was kind of being fake, but I didn't 100% get it. Like, I know it now, right? But it started whenever we've been friends at, like a couple years at this point. And, you know, she was pretty shy on talking to, you know, guys. And because guys don't really approach me like that or whatever, usually they're not flirting with me at that time. Like, now they do. So it's not hard for me still because mentally I just grew a tolerance. So I'm pretty blunt, right? And we'll get back to that blunt statement in a second. But I would just go to them. I'd be like, hey, my friend over here thinks you're fucking cute, blah, blah, blah. She's over there, blah, blah, blah. Because she had to, like, me approaching, especially when I didn't have, like, that strong of confidence and style, blah, blah, blah. It was like a booger wolf coming up to you. So it's like, if you look like this, what does your friend look like, right? And so it's like she had to physically be out and mogging, basically, in order to get, you know, people. And so there was this one time where this didn't happen whatsoever, that little scenario that I gave where I'm like, I have to point at her and like say, oh, this is blah, 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 this is my friend, she's the one that like, you know what I mean. So I went across the street, went to Circle K, she wanted me to go get this guy's number because we just walked out and she was like, hey dude, can't talk to him, can you go talk to him? And I was like, yeah, sure, blah, blah, blah. So I went over there, blah, blah, blah. He couldn't see her, so he said no. And I went to her just joking. I was like, yeah, he wanted my number instead. And she was like, girl, why would he want your number? Look at you. And I was like, oh, okay, you know? And then like, not her family, not like her parents or whatever, but like her siblings, you know, they would have physically hit me. You know, the first time that I'm black, you know, and I'm pretty dark hue. I have kind of reddish undertones, but they're yellowish at the same time. And so, the first time I've ever gotten a bruise is because they were hitting me with a belt and hit me with a buckle like on my arm right here and stuff like that. So that's basically like the first couple of like friendships that I had. And then eventually I went to high school and everything and I became friends with like, you know, mainly I became friends with almost everyone there because like I'm pretty good at just being like, hey, how are you, blah, 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 giving like out compliments and stuff like that. But at the time I was very like I said before, like I wanted to be accepted, and being accepted by people who were overly nice to me didn't feel right because like anytime when people were nice to me, eventually they would devolve into like actually hurting me, whether that was mentally, verbally, physically, or whatever, right? So whether that was family, friends, you know what I mean? I never really had protection at school. Like I went to my elementary schools, and the first time I ever tried to commit suicide was in 2nd grade, right? And no one ever took me seriously. I would cut off my eyebrows, my eyelashes. I would come into school and just not say anything. I was pretty silent. I was crying. Like if there was any signs that someone was going through something, I displayed them so often and so well, more than any other kid there at the time, and absolutely no one could give a fuck, you know what I mean? So like I just feel like, you know, a lot of people say like the system fails black people and especially black girls, and you know, I'm basically a victim of that. But eventually I went to high school and stuff, and I became friends with like a group of people who it felt like acceptance, you know? But I'm not saying that they hated me because they definitely didn't do what other people did, you know, but maybe did harmful stuff in other ways, right? You know, I had one person who I loved being around them. Like, there's just something about their energy, something about, like, you just want to laugh. Like, there's always, but they're not the, like, nicest person, but, like, because of how they say stuff or because of how, like, you take it, you know what I mean? It's just like, damn, dude, like, I'm not taking it seriously. But there would be times where I was like, yeah, like, you're my best friend. And they would be like, no, the fuck I'm not. And then it's like, you know, you spend most of your time with me over this other person that you're saying that's your friend. And then, you're also, like, I'm over here spending, like, every penny that I'm getting from my grandparents, from basically birthday and stuff like that. And because at the time, like, we're kids, you know, I wasn't even 16, so I didn't have a job or whatever, just getting, like, just money on the side from, like, my family, from doing, like, little side jobs on, like, Craigslist, where that sounds kind of bad if you, like, see what people be posting on Craigslist, especially back in the day before they started charging now. But it would be like, oh, like, let's go fold clothes or whatever, blah, 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 this, that, and other, right? So that type of money, I would make sure, like, if I found a job like that, I will also tell her about it. You know, like, just very giving, like, I guess, like, thoughtful. I don't know how to explain it, but I usually put everyone else in front of me, and it's more so of like having thoughtfulness because I want you to treat me the same way. But the thing is that a lot of times that doesn't happen. You will treat people the way that you want, and a lot of people aren't genuine. Like if you're genuine, they're not genuine like you. You know what I mean? I never met a few people like only online. I've met some people online where never met them offline, and you know, if they told me that they were starving, I would give them money. A lot of times when I was younger, I did a lot of things to want to be accepted and like just fully accepted, you know, because at this time this person telling me like they're not really my friend and blah blah blah, and I never really had you know, good, solid. And so a lot of times I'm just like, maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe I need to step up my game. And so a lot of times, like, maybe somewhere down the line in these videos, like, that attribute will display, like, where it just seems like I'm giving more than what this other person is giving. I don't know, but it seems like I do it pretty often, and people take advantage of it a lot of times. And, you know, it happened again. So it's, what happened with that situation is just, like I said, so I used to catfish, and so by this time, I stopped catfishing actually and went into Facebook role playing, because the difference between Facebook role playing, it's almost like the same thing, but not really, because people know with the role playing that you're fake. So even though you have like pictures of like the celebrities or influencers and stuff like that, you will put a little watermark and blah 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 and be like, oh, my name is Rowan this or whatever, and people will be able to do like the identification thing on you know, whenever like you got locked out, because now they know that you're fake and blah 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 blah, and now you're giving people to be like, okay, blah 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 blah. And so like you're interacting with people, and you're also able to start posting your face and da da da. So I ended up transferring over to that side of Facebook instead of catfishing, because I met this one guy and his name is Zach, and if he ever comes across this, dude, I'm so sorry. It's not a bad thing. It's not like I asked him for money or whatever. I know that he liked the person that I was being, and I liked him too, but it was just like, you know, I think he liked more of the face, because if I know for a fact if I showed him my face, I was gonna get blocked back in the day. So, but it's whatever. But by that time, like I said, I talked to a couple people throughout the catfish thing, and that was bad. That was dramatic. That was the first time that I ever actually had like feelings for someone. I was like in love with this Justin Bieber fake, and I've never liked Justin Bieber. I don't even like Justin Bieber now. I like a couple songs of his, but I never actually like was like, oh my god, Justin Bieber's so hot, and I'm such a fan, and da-da-da. I like this person for their personality. Like, I thought we like whenever we interacted, we went well together. They were pretty popular, you know what I mean? Like, they pulled off being at least a young person very well at the time. So it was really good, at least for me, for that interaction, because I was really weird and they never like shut me out for it, you know what I mean? So yeah, but I like, there was days where I like literally 11, 12, 13 years old, a whole week just nonstop crying. I would fall asleep crying, wake up crying, blah blah blah, because, you know, da-da-da-da. So it was hard. There was so many things that was going on, and everything was a lot and traumatic, because I never really got the help that I needed, right? But anyway, going back to what I was saying about the story with like the role play, and why I was getting into that was because, so at this point I was deep into the Facebook role play, and a lot of my friends on the Facebook role play was actually transferring over to Instagram role play, and so I was doing that, and I got convinced into like transforming my this new account that I was making for this role play into that, and this person transformed that into roasting people. And, you know, they graduated, I went to school still, and I know that my phone got hacked. Like, no matter if I was like trying to text someone, it would always just send. It would just kept on sending. And nothing would happen if I stopped pressing stuff, but once I started pressing things on my keyboard, it just started glitching, so I know it was hacked. And so blah, 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 and I went to school and stuff, and I said, sorry, you know, I told people this, that, and other. And, you know, this person, you know, lied, like, let me take the blame for it, and you know what, that's completely fine, because it should never happen in the first place. But I remember whenever that happened, there was like a whole assembly built around, and my last year of high school, I had no friends because of it. So, and yeah, and then I also was having another problem with this other girl who was from my middle school, actually, and we've been friends for a very long time. And the problem with her, it's kind of unique. It's kind of weird. Basically, with that other friend that I was just telling you about, they were obsessed with like Harry Styles, and it was getting to the point that it was like delusional. And you know what, they will always make comments. First of all, they were a mixed person and blah 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 for every year that we've ever been together. Well, whenever we first started being friends, I realized that they never liked it was a group of black girls, right? Me and like 3-4 other black girls in this group, and we all were in love with what's their name? Mindless Behavior. And so I know this person was just basically from the life that I have with them and like being their friend and stuff like that now, that I know that this person was just faking it so that they can have a sense of friends, you know what I mean? So let me drink this real quick. But like after a while, they would say a lot of like racist stuff. Like they would be like, you know, they didn't like black women for a while, but they didn't like black people at all. And then I think just being around me and my friends, because the majority growing up, even in Arizona, knowing that there wasn't a lot of black people here, the only real people that I could kind of relate to and talk to, and people that accepted me here were black. So everyone that I was friends with were literally black. And so I think just being around like black females with her changed her mind on how she feels about black women, but the way that she would talk about black men was like bad. And so like I know I was just talking about the one friend from high school that like got me into that little Instagram scandal, but there was this time where me and this biracial racist girl and that, you know, scandal girl too were in a room together, and you know, all of my friends actually knew that she didn't like being black. Like we all knew this, right? And she would literally like talk so much shit about like everyone, especially because everyone that I knew was either not fit, like they were either 50% or more, you know what I mean, 50% to 100, whereas she was like she was 50% on the dot, right? And so, but she, like, it was to a point, like, where one of my black friends was like, you know, you don't even like black people, so I'm not gonna invite you into my house, you have to sit outside. And, like, she sat outside. It got to a point where, like, a bunch of my friends would have to, like, school her and be like, let's tell you about slavery and, like, how all this colorism and all this other stuff and how it affects us now. And she literally sat in this room and would talk about, like, oh, so I'm the prettiest person in this room because I'm mixed. You know, so it was a very weird dynamic, and I kept it around for the longest time because I just figured, like, you know, she'll grow out of it. But like I said, she was obsessed with, like, One Direction and stuff like that, and eventually, like, one of my friends said something to her, and then she got mad at me because I guess I didn't defend her. Because, like, in my head, I'm like, I think it's just something that you need to hear, you know what I mean? Like, what if you don't meet him, you know, and he doesn't, like, you know, like, we want the best for you, but obviously that's not what you wanted to hear, and blah, 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 blah. And it just, like, I gave this person a home, and blah, blah, blah. And I also know part of the problem, too, was that I accused them of stealing money. And it's not because, like, oh my god, I just did that on purpose. It's literally because I got them a job, and it was, like, a tipping job. So, like, we both would, like, bring home tips and stuff like that. And, you know, because of their relationship with their family actually left them here because they just didn't want to deal with her anymore, right? And they left her here and went to Colorado, and I vouched for her to come live with me. I vouched for her to, like, at my job, for her to get a job there and stuff like that, and I just felt like she stepped all over me, but it's whatever. Over some dumb shit, like, it's One Direction, like, girl, you never met them, like, you know what I mean? But anyway, with the money or whatever, so I got her a job and stuff, and then, like, my other friend who told her about, like, hey, like, this is delusional, like, blah, 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 I also got them a job at that place, too, so, like, it kind of, like, clashed together, and what happened, like I said, they didn't feel like I spoke up and protected them or whatever, but it's like, sometimes you just, in my head, I got a lot of tough love. I didn't get any love, basically, at all, but in my head, that was just, like, reality tough love of, like, I'm not here to, like, say stuff to hurt you, you know what I mean? I want the best for you, actually, but they didn't take it that way. And so, hi, you're okay. But they didn't take it that way. And at the time, I thought that I had a jar of money underneath my bed, and one of my family members knew that it was there, right? And they forgot to tell me that they dug in it. But she was sleeping in my room because I stopped sleeping in my room because her feet smelled so bad to me. And so, like, where the money was at was, like, visible where she was at. So I just put two and two together. This family members took my money, and they said no. And then a couple months later, come to find out that they actually did take the money, you know what I mean? And so, but by this time, our relationship is ruined. Like, I've seen them a couple times, and on the street and stuff, and they think I'm a demon for, you know, and it's like, I would love to just, like, first of all, like, you didn't treat me right, the whole entire time, but at the same time, I didn't treat you right, you didn't deserve that, and so, if you're, like, I'm willing to say sorry, and I will step up and say that on my end, and I don't give a fuck if you say sorry or not, you know what I mean, because I, like, literally, like, this person ended up having, like, a little baby sister, and she would, like, talk about how, like, her sister was, like, so terrified of me because I was dark-skinned, and I was like, oh, okay. So that's basically everything, all the interactions that happened up until the time I was in high school, and those are mainly, like, the most traumatic things that happened in my life and kind of shaped the way that I exist, you know what I mean? Which fucking sucks, you know, because it really sucks. Like, dating and stuff like that really sucks. Like, I have a really hard time, like, being able to gauge who is around just for this, or even just putting my foot down a lot of times, which, like I said before, I just end up being, like, really blunt and stuff, and I think because I also don't end up talking to people so often, whenever I went on that podcast, I became friends with someone there, and we talked, and we hung out a couple times. They hung out with my best friend as well and stuff, and whenever we were talking about, like, you know, basically me at some point, they were like, yeah, like, you talk in puzzles, and what I realized is that a lot of people, I get misunderstood a lot, and it's because I really don't interact with people. Like, people think because of how I look, like, oh, I'm supposed to be inviting, like, half the time now, like, most people are like, get the fuck away from me, like, what the fuck are you, like, type shit, right? But, like, I really don't interact with people, I really don't talk to people, and it's kind of sucks that, you know, I really wasn't taught how to talk to people, how to navigate through life. Like, everything that I'm going through, or everything that, how I'm navigating basically, is all purely through me and the support that I have from my friends. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna try my best to just go through this pretty fucking fast. Basically, the reason why I'm making this video is because I had a couple near-death experiences recently. I got into 2 car accidents, and in the middle of it, I got assaulted by police officers, and then, well, this was a couple years ago actually, and then recently I got into another car accident, and yeah, like I said, that stuff happened, and I just want good stuff to happen for me. I want to go out there and experience better things. I want to go out there and, you know, just film things and just have fun. You know, one of the things that I plan on doing is start doing music, right? Like, I'm obsessed with it. I already do vocal classes, but even today, I went to go try to get my first guitar classes. Anyway, sorry about that. So I'll kind of double into, like, what happened with the police assault since my stories did finally free up. But basically, so I got into a really bad car accident. I found out that I was supposed to fling out of the car, and yeah, and that was very traumatic because I was also very, how do I explain? I was very worried about the passenger that was in the other car, because to me, in my brain and in my head, it just was like, oh my god, like, dude, you didn't even do anything. You're not even in control of it. Neither of these cars, and you almost fucking died. Because there was like a piece of metal pipe like sticking out from my car from where we like impact. And if it was like maybe even less than a foot more over, this would have like injured her. It could have like, you know, and then on top of that, the way that their car spun around and stuff, it almost hit a pole. Like, what if that shit like immediately like fell on top of them and smashed them, you know? Not even just like a pole, it was like a traffic stop thing. So it was pretty sad. It was really so then after that, like maybe 2 weeks, it wasn't even a full month, I was in that car accident. I was laying at home and stuff like that, and I was basically relying on weed for pain and stuff, because the doctors didn't really prescribe me anything. I should have actually been fine right after that. And so I went to the dispensary one night and went there, got my stuff, and it was like literally about to be like midnight, but like, you know, just smoking was helping with the pain. And, you know, I was crossing the road, or about to, and I pressed the equipment button, but it never changed. And like I said, it's the middle of the night, so I'm like, I'm not, like, my car got totaled. My mom lives about 2 hours away. I didn't really talk to my dad at the time, and plus, like, he shouldn't be driving, so, you know, there's that. And then my brother also didn't have a car, and like, I don't really have that many friends, so like, who was I gonna call? You know what I mean? Especially like, my friends are like kind of spread out everywhere. Like, I had just moved back from Colorado, and I had just finished being homeless for a whole year and stuff like that. Like, literally, it was a fucking struggle, and this was all before the car accident, but also the police assault. And so that night, I went out there. I don't have a car. I don't have friends to help me with transportation or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, if the equipment's not gonna change, then obviously I'm just gonna walk across the street so I can get home, because I'm about like almost 10 miles away. You know what I mean? Like, it's midnight. I'm a girl. I'm a female. You know what I mean? Like, are we dumb? And so I get to the other side of the road, and I guess police officers have put on their lights, but it's the middle of the night. I really can't see anything. I'm just thinking, you know, the bus stop is right here, right in front of me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even think it was actually for me. You know what I mean? I'm thinking that they pulled someone over. And next thing you know, I'm tackled to the ground. A piercing was ripped out of my face. And if you know anything about like borderline personality disorder, we split. And like immediately, if my brain just has that split, dude, when I split, I say so much shit. I do so much shit. Like, you know what I mean? All this other stuff. I've never been aggressive in my life. Like, you know what I mean? And so like, it was just a whole thing. And I ended up that night with like multiple felony charges, even though I didn't do anything that night either. I didn't touch them, at least on purpose. They picked me up, and they said that I kicked them. And what was happening was that they picked me up, and because of my back injury, which I went to the dispensary to go get weed for my back, I jolted because like my shit hurts, you know? Even to this day, I'm still like moving a lot and all this other stuff because my back hurts, you know? And so like, yeah, they got me on felony charges trying to say like that or whatever. And then they have purposely handcuffed me right here. Like, you know damn well wrists are down here. You can see even the bone right here, but they put it up here. So my hands are back here and I'm pushing it down, and well, not down like towards here. I'm trying to push it here. And one of the officers came and like tried to stop me from like pushing it to where it was just around my wrist. I had like literal scars going around my actual hand and not my wrist because they placed it in the wrong place. And so like whenever I was trying to move it, trying to push it down to my wrist so that's a little bit more comfy, then one of the officers came and put his hand there, and one of my nails, because I have long nails, like even now, you know, I just have longer nails, it scratched them, and then I got a fucking felony charge for that. And so for a whole nother fucking year, I technically homeless, right? A whole nother fucking year. Well, actually, after this police assault, I got into another car accident because I was in an Uber and someone rear-ended us. So I ended up with even worse like back injuries and stuff like that. And I wasn't even able to get compensated nicely for the first car accident because now the 2 car accidents are mixing in together, and now also the police assault is happening. And, you know, obviously the insurance is not going to pay for a lot of this stuff now because it's like, well, how do we know that these injuries came from this assault? So like my money's been fucked up before that because like I said, I was homeless, which honestly, homelessness wasn't that bad. What happened to make it bad was the fact that DoorDash changed their policies or how you can make their money on their account. And so that really fucked me up at the very end before the car accident and before the police assault. And so after the car accidents, it's like, well, I have pending charges now. Thank God that I have been to counseling. But this was my first, I guess, charges, like for jail, for anything. Never was in the system for anything because I'm just not an aggressive person. I don't do anything. I literally keep to myself. So yeah, I had those near-death experiences or whatever, and I went through the court process, and basically what they told me was like, you know, you have these mental health issues, so you can go through this program because you also haven't been through the system, / I believe it's like you haven't been through the system or you have little to no charges for you to get these programs and get this basically wiped off your record, right? And so we went through that, but that took almost 2 years because because the case manager that I was on, they ended up fucking it up and almost fucked it up to the point that I almost went to jail because they released me early. So glad that we were able to catch that before I actually ended up in jail because of a dumb bitch, right? So all of that being said, life is really fucking hard and I really want life to get better. I've been in a car accident very recently as well, and it just seems like life is able to get better, you know what I mean? Like I'm able to now make advance money for like my bills so that and stuff, and so I'm seeing the lighter tunnel. I'm seeing that I will be able to like actually, whenever I get these shots in my back for the injury that I had, that I have once the pain goes away, because they told me like something about plasma, get the plasma shots in there, and the herniations and the bulging disc that I have back there should heal almost 100% with extra plasma, because it has like extra working buddies or something like that. That's how I conceptualized it. I'm not sure if that's like the actual what's actually happening, but yeah, I'm hoping once I get that done that, you know, I can start doing like dancing and stuff like that. Like I have plans of stuff that I want to do because like, as I've explained, like I just had a hard life. Like it just was like back to back to back to back to back ever since I was a kid up until now. Like it's so hard, and it is, but I'm working towards better, you know. I want better for myself, and I see that things are getting better, and I think that's my goal, and not my goal but also my sign to start doing things that are also going to make me feel better, right? And I really struggled with wanting to make this channel because I'm just such a unique person. Not to like eat my own ass, right? But genuinely, like I disassociate so much that I don't really like anything. Like one of my friends are like, you know, they love video games, they love movies, they love doing this, they love doing that. They can tolerate so much, but I can't really tolerate things. And some of it makes me think like maybe I have autism, but you know, maybe I don't. You know, I went through so much psychological damage that, you know, it probably very well mentally stunted me, and especially since I've been going through things since I was a kid, I can see that I'm very mentally stunted. Like you know, I'm still smart, and I still have there's just a lot of things wrong with me, and I'm trying my best, and I know I'm not like getting help from like professionals, because at this point I don't think professionals are helping me. The last professional I had, you know, I told her like I think I need to stop with these sessions. My insurance is like about to run out, and I don't know when that's gonna happen, but I know it's like within the next week or two, and da-da-da. She literally gaslit me into staying, and then gaslit me into staying for over the time frame that I gave her, and then now I owe them like $1,000, and then there's medical interest or whatever. So fuck counseling. I never really fucked with counseling anyway, because even when I was a kid, and you know, my parents did try to get me counseling. The one person that helped me ended up getting a better job, and then every time that I got a new counselor, they would get a better job. So it would be like I was with this person for maybe a few months, and then they got a new job, and then it was like, okay, that's cool, right? And then I got a new counselor, and I met them for 1 week, and then they got a new job, and then next thing you know, I would have counselors that I never met, because they would be like, oh, you're assigned, and before I could even meet them, they got another job. And it's very traumatic, you know what I mean? I have very bad abandonment issues. Talking to people is very hard, because it's like I said, I really don't have a tolerance for people. So once I start feeling like you're giving me bullshit or whatever, it's like a switch goes in my brain, and I could be really fucking mean. And that's not just me just trying to be like, I hope this like video also doesn't make it sound like, oh, I'm a perfect victim, because I'm not, right? I'm like highlighting that I have shitty attributes about myself, but I'm hoping that, you know, with me explaining that and trying to navigate like this change and wanting to change for the better, and knowing that it's not gonna be easy, you know. Other people don't make it easy. Like I said, a lot of times like I get misunderstood. If I say something, people will read it a different way. A lot of times, like it's really hard. It was a struggle. Like literally after the police assault, it was a struggle. I have a dog, and my family isn't dog people, especially on my mom's side. On my dad's side, they are, or at least my dad is. But the thing with my dad is that he doesn't have too much support where we're living at either, and you know, him and his wife have their own animals, so I can't bring mine there. And whenever after the police assault, I couldn't get a job because like my charges are pending, so they're from a liability, and that's a liability for work and for apartments, you know. So at that point I wasn't qualified for anything, and it fucking sucked. And then I had to fight tooth and nail with my because I understood he wasn't able to help me out because I have a dog, and I wasn't gonna get rid of my dog because, first of all, that's my emotional support animal, live and breathe, love of my life. First of all, like I'm not getting rid of her. I can't, like, you know, she's the first thing that has ever genuinely showed me real love. And it's really fucked up that they try to everyone, because they're like, well, if you're struggling right now, get rid of the asset that's, you know, helping with that struggle if no one wants to help you with this dog, right? And I understand the concept, but if I didn't have this dog, I literally would not be making this video for you guys because I would be dead. I'm telling you right now. I know it for a fact. I'm not going to show you anything, any part of my body or whatever, but I was SHing and stuff like that. But if I didn't have my dog, it would have been even worse. It probably would have been vertical instead of horizontal. I was having thoughts of like driving off of a cliff. I almost drove into a tree actually at some point, but you know, my animals were in a car with me. So the fact that like I actually have animals and I think about them, and the fact that they were physically, first of all, there, kept me alive. I would not be here. So like the fact that these people kept on like trying to tell me like you have to, like it's literally fucked up, you know. And I had no support. I genuinely had no support because they were like, well, if you're not gonna get rid of your dog, then we're not gonna help you, you know. So it took a while. It took it took to the point that like I got into a fight with like my family, and I slept outside for maybe like a day one time, and I had a cactus needle stuck in my foot, and I wasn't able to get it out for almost a whole year, almost 2 years, because I think this year is the year that I was able to get it out. It's a really bad time. I'm really fucked up from it. I feel really bad because when it comes to relationships, and I have a lot of people, I feel like maybe my body is maturing and like, you know, like my face is like kind of slimming out and like looking great and stuff like that. Cause like I notice it, like the way that, not even just like how I'm putting on my style, but like the way that like just everything sits on me, like even my makeup and stuff, like everything about me just looks so much better than what it did when I was like 21, you know? But when I started getting confidence in myself, it was around 21. But like now I'm like super confident. I'm like, I'm really beautiful and all this other stuff. And when it comes to relationships, it's so bad. It's so bad. I don't trust people at all. I don't trust men. I don't trust girls. Like for the most part, it makes me very uncomfortable after like all the shit that happened whenever I was younger. And now that like majority of my friends are guys, but the very bad part about having male friends is that, and first of all, I'm very attractive. I don't give a fuck what other people say. The problem is that like I'm very pretty and I have a great personality, and I guess I come off a lot of times as like cool and nonchalant to people, and a lot of times they start internalizing that and start liking it and stuff, and it fucks me up every time because I genuinely don't believe anyone likes me. I believe like people, it's like 3 to 4 categories that I have, right? So one category is people who I met when I was younger who are like, oh, you know, I need to get to know you to like you, right? And that's usually not a problem. But what happened is that we've been friends, and this isn't just towards anyone, it's towards this happened multiple times with multiple people. But it would be like, oh, okay, and now that I'm hot from when I was younger, now they're like, oh my god, I like you. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, is this like, are you treating me like a last option, or is it because I'm hot? You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely feel like people just don't like me. I feel like I'm either a sex object to people, or they only like me because like, oh, you're hot, you're attractive, blah, 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 blah. Which a lot of times, even now, because I get a lot of like golden retriever guys, but like, it's not like, oh, they want to date me and be able to show me off to their guys. It's like, they want the trophy girl, the basic bitch girl, and then have me on the side, right? And I'm over it. Like, I'm done, like, you know, and those are really the only relationships that I get, and I'm okay with it because at the end of the day, if I even had like just a regular relationship or a neurotypical type relationship, I genuinely wouldn't even think that they liked me either because I didn't grow up with good examples of people, you know what I mean? Like, all the males in my life didn't like dark women, and if they did, they cheated. And sometimes some of those women that I know that got cheated on ended up with STDs, STIs, stuff like that. So a lot of times I just think to myself like, you know, like I don't envy other people, you know. Genuinely, I want to feel loved, and I want to feel like I can get genuine love, but I don't think it's just possible. Like, it could, you know, other people can watch this and be like, you know, oh, you're receiving genuine love, but you're not actually receiving it in your heart. But it's like, no, like in my brain, I don't see it, you know. It feels like predatory to have people around me who have been around me for a while and then be like, oh no, I like you. And because now in my brain it's like, okay, do you like me because I'm hot? Or now that you're like, oh, because now I know you, I really like you. But it's like, usually I know you for so long that I've seen you meet someone and right off the bat chase them. But like when it comes to me, it's, oh, I need to get to know you. You know what I mean? And because I have to endure that a lot of times, or just feeling like people are trying to mask me, you know what I mean? It's very hard. Same thing with girls. Like, I don't trust them, whether it's just like, oh, we're friends, and then it's like, you're just trying to sabotage me, whether it's you're trying to sabotage me through secretly talking to the guys that I'm talking to, or, you know what I mean, just talking down to me but acting like you're also my friend. So all that to say, because like I said, we're gonna keep this channel on a positive level. I just want you guys to like just know, like, if you want me to do collabs at some point, like, it's gonna be very hard for me to do it and very consistently unless I'm actually like friends with these people, because like I said, my tolerance is very low. Once like if my tolerance is like, let's say it's here, right? if most of the time I meet most people is like right here, and you just do some dumb shit that can be just switch. It's not fair. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I just don't interact with people. I try to keep my opinions to myself, because a lot of times when I just try to communicate the way that I was, the only way that I've learned how to, a lot of people say that I come off as aggressive, or, you know, like I said, very blunt and stuff, and it's not very digestible for a lot of people. And so this is a change of the heart for me. I'm doing my hardest to try and switch my brain into kind of being a little bit, I guess, more pleasant, doing things that I like, because like I said, good things are coming. Even though I struggled with like housing and stuff like that, I've been a partner with my family for the past year or two now. I have a stable job and stuff like that, and I see by next year I'll be able to, my family's going to own their own home, and I'm gonna be able to. It's a really hard life, and you know, I just wanted a video to kind of like explain, obviously if I, you know, ever need to explain even more detail about certain things, or another thing that comes up, like maybe something happens in the future, you know. And yeah, I plan on like having this channel be very positive, because I want to be on a positive half of my life. Like I said, I'm doing things that I like, so like music, which is basically it for the most part. I really like horror movies as well, so maybe I'll come to you guys with like reviews and stuff like that, but mainly what I was thinking was like horror looks, because I really love horror. I love spooky things. I follow these models on Instagram, and they like do like fake content of them like kind of like, you know, unaliving people or whatever. It's crazy, right? But that's the type of stuff that my brain is into. I really like bugs, so I kind of am a scavenger hunter. I find dead bugs all the time. I find living animals, and I take home roadkill and stuff like that, so maybe I'll bring that. But I really don't have that many interests outside of that, other than being spooky, looking spooky, and kind of listening to spooky music as well. And I love traveling and stuff like that. But also, maybe doing this type of stuff where I am actually interacting with people, or going out and vlogging things, and basically looking at stuff from a different perspective. Maybe I'll find different interests, and I'll be able to kind of bring that to you guys, you know, that things are going up. But yeah, so things are getting better. Pretty excited, very happy for that, and yeah, this channel is gonna be really good. I promise you. I have a couple people who are happy to work with me, at least, and they're willing to also help my dream come true and help you guys to watch. So yes, enjoy. I know this video is a lot. I know it was a lot. Like I said, educational purposes is so much better if you know my lore and how my brain exists, because maybe sometimes I'll just pick up the phone and be like, this is what's going through my brain, this is blah blah blah, and you'll be like, what the fuck, why is she so manic? I promise you, things are coming from a good place, and especially right now, I've been so focused on myself, and I've been really wanting good things for myself. And whenever you want good things for yourself, you also want it for other people, you know? And so I truly believe that. But yes, like, subscribe, and follow for content that won't be like this, you know? Yeah, we'll showcase very soon. I promise, and you'll love it. Okay, bye. I'm so happy that I'm done with this. I promise you, I'm so fucking happy that I'm done with this, because it took so fucking long. I literally was out here since like 2 a.m. No, it's 2 p.m. and it's like almost 9 or 10 now, because my phone kept on getting full storage and then trying to transfer it over. A whole thing. I almost literally cried. And not just because I was like telling you guys about my lore. But we'll try to make this as concise as possible, because I have about over an hour of footage right now. And yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Stay hydrated, stay cool, stay weird, whatever. Bye.